All right, everyone. I was just messing around on the internet and came across a website. It was selling these Blade Ligers. Now, this is from a TV show called Zoids, and it was like 15 years old. And at the time, these kits were really expensive. And I wasn't sure whether this was a bootleg or if it was real. So I got on the internet, did some digging, and it turns out the manufacturer right here, Black Knight, bootlegs quite often. They tend to bootleg Zoids and Gundam kits. Okay, it's a Chinese company. This came from China, so I'm not surprised. It was $30, I think, with shipping, so it wasn't too expensive. And boy, do you get an awful lot of sprue for $30. Okay, taking a quick look, it talks about the history of this. There is English on it, so they did expect to sell it to an English market, and they're talking about the different versions of the Liger here. There's an overview of it and what it can do, and they're showing some details on the head. Okay, there's the body, the thruster pack, okay, the back of the body, and some of the weapons. And then you get a sprue map right here. Lots of sprues. Seriously. And it looks like assembly's much like a Gundam kit, but this isn't a Gundam kit. So I expect brittle plastic, ill-fitting parts, and a few other things with lower-end models. But the price was cheap, so I bought it. And I wasn't sure whether it was a bootleg or not. Now, bootlegs. Should you buy bootlegs? Here's my take on it. I bought a couple of kits without knowing they're bootlegs early on. Then I quit. As soon as I learned I was buying bootlegs, I quit buying them. Here's the thing about bootlegs. They're taking money from someone else. And I don't really want to be that person who's taking money from someone else. But on the flip side, this particular kit has not been manufactured for 15 years. So, the original parent company who built this is no longer selling it. And they don't seem to be enforcing their little copyright or whatever you want to call it. So, I'm not so sure on this case. But I do know on things like Godzilla statues, I don't buy those because the original, while it may sell for $300, if it's still for sale and not been out of print for a long time, I'm not going to touch it. I'd rather buy legitimate. But in the case of this one, this hasn't been produced in 15 years. The parent company who was building this has decided not to proceed forward with it. So if you want the subject, you got to go bootleg. Here's the color calls out. Now, they are in English, but this grayscale printing here is really hard to follow over here. Okay, and this thing's articulate, probably worse than a Gundam. So, painting it, I'm going to paint the outer armor, most likely. I probably won't paint the inner frame. All right, and then there's a picture of some of the aspects of the kit. All right, looking at sprue. It came with stickers. You read the directions. Those are decals. Oh, it's a bootleg kit. What do you expect? I just wish they weren't in white because I can't scan this and print it. I can scan and print probably the yellow and the black as long as those are going over white parts, but the white print, I can't scan and print. I don't have a white ink printer. Okay, now I have 4 sprues in this bag. They are not identical. Since they're this black color, I'm assuming that's inner frame. I probably won't paint any of the inner frame because that's where all the moving parts are. And if you paint the moving parts, the paint comes off. So, probably won't paint any of that. Then we have another set of sprue, and there's like 8 of them in here. Now, the Zoids had these big knobby things on the outside to denote that they were take apart and put together. There's part of the blades. The blades themselves are yellow under here. It's a Blade Liger. Okay? This is probably still part of the inner frame. Another set of identical sprue, one loose part. Polycaps. There are 4 sheets of polycaps for this thing. 4. This is not a minor model to put together. That's for sure. Some nicely colored gold parts. Some clear orange parts who are coming off the sprue. The sprue is breaking apart. This thing was shipped from China, no box, bubble wrapped in a bag. I'm amazed it didn't get torn up any more than it did. Some of these parts are coming apart in here. I'm not going to open that bag. I'm not going to open any of these bags because I don't want any parts laying around stray. Some nice silver parts. These parts are good enough. I don't think I would paint the silver or the gold. A bunch of springs and what they call the Zoid cord. The Zoid core. Looks like a red marble. We get the outer armor. This would be useful with some paint and some weathering. It'll look a lot better. And these Ligers got dirty, so no problem with painting them. Light gray, dark black. These are definitely leg joint parts. You can see it, so probably not painted. I'd have to see where the gray is going because there's hoses and other things. Those would get painted. These hoses, if I could find some good piano wire, would definitely be better that way. White parts, there isn't a lot of white. These are the fins on the top of the head. So you can get kind of the sense of scale of it. You got 2 identical sprue in here. Like I said, there's a lot of sprue to this thing. There's like 8 sprue inside this. Some of them are identical, some of them are not. And they're gray and black. These look like gun parts up here. If it's a gun, it's going to get painted. And last of all, another set of blue armor parts with the black piece on there. And some of these parts are dissociating from the sprue. So for $30, I got an awful lot of plastic. And I do mean an awful lot. But you get flaky, you get stickers instead of decals or decals. You had to wait a month to get it from China. And it's a bootleg and didn't know I was buying a bootleg at the time. Eventually I'll build this because I really liked the Blade Liger back then. And it's a big cat and I like the big cats. So do my daughters. So this would be kind of fun to build and have them look at it. I won't let Miri play with it because it won't be a Blade Liger. It will be in pieces all over the house. Emmy would do the same thing. She's too little. BB would look at it and go, oh, wow, that's cool. And move the legs around a little bit and then put it on a shelf. So BB would be respectful of it. All right, there you go. There's a quick rundown of a Blade Liger. Bootleg from China. And again, I'm not big on bootlegs, but sometimes there's no other way to get the subject, especially when they're long out of print. Again, Neko Buso. Okay. It's kind of interesting. A cat that's got a gun and a radar dish. All right, back in a little while.